Welcome to a brand new edition of the Huddle House. Welcoming a first time guest on the show. I didn't really realize it until we was talking to him the other day and he mentioned it. And I immediately felt kind of bad. I was like, dang, like this is a willing guest that we've never even invited. But Mr. Caleb Wyland this week, making up for a lost time.
Welcome, Caleb.
Thank you. It's great to be here, boys. Great to be here.
Well,
I mean, it'd only be fitting that he's on the show this week after
I was
what's
about to say.
fired.
Let's just get right down to the brass tacks, because it's the trade deadline. We finally had a little bit of movement this week. All of us were involved in it, but I really think you guys need to speak on it first. I'll just throw it out there. Can we hear the backstory here? Walk us through. This is what everybody wants to know.
Yeah. Okay. It was in the works for a while. I'll be honest. It was pretty heavily discussed for a good few days and deeply discussed the last 2 days before it happened. But yeah, it was just. I mean, if anyone has ever tried to do a deal with Matt, they can. It was the most Matt deal in the world because it was like Matt was giving away his children. And yeah, so it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of anxiousness on both ends, I should say. But yeah, I mean, for me, I was kind of just trying to shake things up. I've had the same core. I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't done like a doorbuster type overhaul like that, and it felt good. It still feels good now, and I would like to hear Matt post Cooper Kupp injury. Sorry about that, Matt. That's brutal, man. It's brutal.
It's the game. Happens. Yeah, it sucks. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, something you can't control. All I can do is control what I can control. But still feeling good about the trade. For the most part. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of hurt a little bit whenever every single person I traded, besides for Waddle, just went absolutely stupid on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb puts up 15 a game for me, and then I trade him and he puts up 38. And I'm like, nice, where was that, buddy? Like every single week I owned you, so it's just I mean, this is 1 week. I mean, I'm not gonna overreact, but like everybody I traded just went absolutely nuts. And I'm like, they're just like spitting in my face this week, like trying to make me regret it. And so it's just that kind of sucked, but still feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna overreact to 1 week, but yeah, a little backstory. So Caleb hits me up on I think Friday, maybe Thursday, and is like
Thursday or
bringing up
Friday. Yeah, it was one of those. Yeah.
bringing up a deal. He's like saying like, what would it take to get, CD and Waddle, and like I think my interpretation of the text was like one or the other. And he was like, he also like sent like I'd be interested in moving Ken Walker, and I'm like okay, well I can give you CD plus something for Walker, or we can do a Waddle Walker swap type of deal, something like that. And he's like, no, I want both, and I'm like, no chance. And so like, I immediately like shut him down. Was like, what the heck are you talking about? He goes, he's like basically saying like, what would it take to get both? And I'm like, honestly, dude, it would probably make you mad to like even hear it. And he's just kind of like, well, entertain me. And so I just like threw out like a deal. It was like Mahomes, a first round pick, Walker and Claypool. Like it was pretty much what I ended up getting basically. And he was just kind of like he like pushed back on the first rounder and was like, no, make it to 201 and we might be on to something here. And so I was kind of like, all right, well, that's actually a decent little proposal here. So then we kind of like just bounced that around for a day or two. I ended up like late or midday Saturday, like convincing him to make it the first if I threw in like a future second. He was like, I would do that. And so then I'm like, he literally sends the handshake emoji, and I'm thinking like, oh crap, he thinks I'm like taking this deal right now. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I'm like just saying like that would be something I'd maybe agree to. So then I'm like, I'll let you know, try to make it by the end of the day if possible. Got real busy on Saturday, barely like really thought of, I mean, I was thinking about it, but I barely had the time to like think hard about it because I was just kind of busy. So then Sunday happens, and I'm thinking like Caleb's probably pissed, like, like I've like held them up the entire day, didn't like communicate at all, like with where my head was at. Then Ty, I wake up to a text from you saying like, would you swap Fields for Debo if you do the deal with Caleb? And I'm like, okay, well, if Ty's deal happens, I'll do Caleb's because then I can just go get Debo, make this like a little double whammy, and kind of replace CD and Waddle at least somewhat, with a pretty good receiver. And I wouldn't need Fields anymore since I'd be getting Mahomes. So like, I was kind of like, let's knock both these out before the 1 p.m. games and just like throw a splash in the air, and we ended up making it happen.
Well, I think one thing that I admire so much about the way Caleb does trades, it's the way Lucas does stuff too. Maybe it's just in your all's blood, but like very decisive and confident. And it's like these players they're just currency. Like you guys know what they're worth. And if you're going to do it, you're just going to do it. Like there's no sentimentality or any kind of attachment. I definitely don't share that. I know Matt doesn't share that. I don't know if people in the league do, but you guys both definitely have that. And it's it is something that makes you think twice about trading with not necessarily trading, but conversations about trades. Because to talk with you guys, like you're ready for action. And if you go in there and just be like, well, maybe this, it's like that. It's not really how it works. I know that I've done that with you guys before, and you guys know what you want and go get your guys. Like Lucas did that with T. Higgins last year, and it sounds like you did that with Waddle and CD. So I mean, like, were these guys that did you feel that strongly about them as to like, you tell me what the offer would be, he told you, and you were like, yeah, I'm going to pay that? Or was that something that was that less than like you were thinking he was going to ask?
So are you saying like did I see that about my guys or his guys?
No, about Waddle and CD. Like, were you set on those guys? Like, no matter what he really says, I'm going to give him, because essentially you gave up every valuable asset. Not every valuable asset, but like if there was a list of your most valuable, it was four or five of them, or 3 or 4 of them. Like it was the top guys. So like, was it no matter what he said, you were going to be able to pull the trigger on, or did that take some considering once he threw back such a big package?
Honestly, it took a little thought and it took a lot of research. And I have a few small people that I tend to listen to a lot more than larger people. And I'm not going to disclose those people because those are my people. I'm gonna keep those people to myself. But those are people that I trust. And they tend to say that like this is kind of becoming the trend, which is something I was a little surprised that Matt did catch on to was so strongly, is that running backs last about as long as milk do in the fridge. And I always use that. So people who have heard me talk about that have heard that reference. So when I see a running back go off, if you look at Keep Trade Cut, not like it's the Bible or anything, but if you look at it, Jamar got hurt. Jamar is like the known number 2. And Jamar got hurt and his value didn't fluctuate a single point. So I kind of thought like wide receivers can have bad injuries and their value just goes, they're almost like gold, it just stays there. And I kind of realized that I have the pieces potentially to build a team, not necessarily overhaul, but build a team based around that core. And it really just so happened that Matt really had the best young core in the league. So I didn't want to move like Mahomes in one place and then Ken Walker in the other place. Because as you were a part of the Mahomes, I got pretty enticing offers for both of them. But I wanted to do it all in one place. So I don't know if it was I'll do whatever he says, but it was definitely like when he started like nitpicking like a second or a first and a second, I was at that point, I was just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the deal done, as long as it's reasonable.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. Cool insight. Really cool insight. So yeah, that was a huge blockbuster. Like the pieces that were getting thrown around were, it was huge. I mean, huge players in the fantasy landscape. So that was really cool to see, all on a random Sunday morning. So that was neat.
Yeah, for sure. And like I'm definitely not like the transactional way. I'm definitely more of a sentimental Waddle, like I literally texted Marcus, I think like last week when Waddle went off. I was like, Jalen Waddle is my hero. I like loved the guy, like loved him. I didn't really care to move CD that much. Like I mean, I know he went off this week, but like that wasn't really what was holding me up. But moving Waddle, like that hurt. That one hurt pretty bad. Like that was really the main hang up for me is moving him. I was okay with moving CD. I've shopped CD around for a year and a half. It's just been, that has never been something I've been like untouchable tier or anything. And Waddle wasn't either, obviously, but he was getting fairly close, but I don't think any
It's
guy
pretty close. Pretty
yeah,
close.
like I mean, it was not far off. He was, and I think Caleb struck at the right time because he was a week or two away of a couple more good performances and me being like, yeah, he ain't getting moved for nothing. But he hadn't had quite enough of them yet that I was like, all right, he's still at least dispensable to some extent, but he was close. I think I was like leaning no until you hit me up, Ty, with that trade the next morning. I was gonna like, I was preparing for the sad call to Caleb being like, man, it's not gonna happen. I was leaning no actually after sleeping on it. And then you hit me up and I'm like, man, I mean, I like Fields and Fields has been balling, but like, I'm just like, dude, like Debo Samuel still got a pretty good amount of value. I mean, I like Caleb said, KTC is not the Bible or anything, but he's still like
Mm.
a high end wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1 type receiver for dynasty. He's only 26 and a good offense. I'm like, if I can get a guy like that to maybe not be CD or Waddle, but at least be close to it, and then go get that bell cow running back of the future and a quarterback that I can really start for the remainder of the league, that's always going to be top 3 or 4 QB, then like that's a really good replacement there to like minimize the damage I was taking at receiver.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that was really what did it for you. Or I guess maybe validated your decision to go through with that deal was the Debo thing, because honestly, that was like I just kind of had to eat my L on that trade with Carter. That was tough. I gave up, I don't know if I gave up 3 firsts or no, I think I gave
It
up
wasn't
2,
3, it was 2.
2 in Rondale, and one of them ended up being a
A
lot.
lot.
So that was tough. And Debo just had not that he'd been terrible, just hadn't been like great. And McCaffrey going there definitely like it's taken away from his touches. And um honestly, going after Fields is just it was nice to finally see a quarterback on my team score more than 16 points. I think that's the first time it's happened all year. So like
He did a lot more than 16.
it had been barren. So like Sunday was very exciting to see a quarterback break 20, let alone score 38. And I think ultimately, looking around the league and just I guess overall landscape of fantasy football, man, like the teams that I find do the best, and specifically quarterbacks, like that rushing upside is huge. You didn't really have to be able to pass the ball, man. Like Fields can put up 8 points with his legs, like a game without even getting in the end zone. If he falls in the end zone, that's 14. Like that's crazy, crazy floor, and the ceiling is so high. And honestly, looking at my roster, like I just didn't know how I was going to be able to address that hole this offseason. Because I mean, obviously the draft, but like that just feels more like a shot in the dark and a longer process. And I liked Fields' upside, and the heater he'd been on. Just wanted to see if it could continue. So I think Debo was a sacrifice I was willing to make, knowing that I had drafted Pickens, who I think is ascending and taking that step to being a top dynasty or premier dynasty wide receiver. And then obviously I still have belief in Treylon Burks. He's just had some bad injury luck to start his career. So hopefully like I have some guys waiting in the wings. But yeah, that was kind of what the motive was for me there. I just felt like if you were going to do the deals, maybe I could at least take a shot on somebody I think could be a top 10 quarterback moving forward. So yeah, we'll see how all it plays out, but busy Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. It was a fun one. And yeah, I guess kind of one like other thing that was kind of going through my head, and like I think it could be easily be like a win-win-win for all of us. I think my biggest fear after watching Fields and Tua both play really good, like obviously neither of them are as consistent or as proven as Mahomes. So like I know what I have in Mahomes, and I can start it every single week, never stress. I don't care who he's playing. He's always putting up at least 20, barring some crazy outlier, So it's just like I just know what I have, and I didn't see as much sample size with Tua and Fields, and I was like, those guys might be on hot streaks, but maybe they regress. But after seeing them both go off again, I think the way I could potentially lose these trades is if they both really are just the real deal and are stars for the next, 6 to 8 years. Because it's like if that happens, then it sort of minimizes Mahomes. He's still great, but my need for him wasn't as significant enough to give up both those receivers if I had two great quarterbacks anyway. And so that's my big fear, I guess, seeing both of them just continue to go off. Is it's like really like I know I upgraded a little, but like did I upgrade as much as I thought I was at quarterback?
Right. Right. And honestly, one thing that pushed me to put all the chips in per se is the fact that in that trade, I'm a big stack person. Usually if the Chiefs do well, anyone who has played me know that my team does well. So the fact that I knew, at least for the remainder of this year, as long as I had the Tua, Waddle, and Gesicki stack, I could at least have a few extra points, a few extra aces up my sleeve in those close matchups. So that was also something that kind of pushed me to be more willing to give up Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that. That's what won Brandon a championship last year, stacks and like investing in teams. Bills and Bengals like won him a championship last year. So I think that's also a smart move on your part, and I definitely saw what you were going for. So I guess all that being said, there's still some dust left to settle this week, but as we're looking here at these league standings, the picture is getting a little bit more clear down the stretch here for the playoff push, and there a little shakeup could still happen. But I'm just kind of curious if we were looking at, I guess realistically, and maybe it's a little unrealistically, but we have 10 teams. There's 3 that are 5-5, 2 6-4, 4 7-3s, and then Caleb, you're on top at 8-2. Maybe we just try and give our like how we see this shaking out. Maybe not seeding, but just the 6 teams that we see getting in after this is all said and done. I mean, obviously there's certain teams that feel like locks. And I think Caleb, you're one of those with a strong record of 8-2. I think, I don't even think like barring disaster, you're not going to go 0-4, but even if you did, you're probably still in. So you have obviously you're locked in. It's about seeding for you now. But the rest of the way down, I mean, with 4 7-3 teams, a team could drop out of that spot. A team could rise from that spot. Like there's so much shaking up that's still to be done. So I'm just kind of curious as we go down here, who we think might slip, who we think might move up, solidify a spot. Let's get some thoughts going around here.
I guess I'll kind of start. I can easily see a path with the way my roster is looking at the moment with, obviously the Cup injury and stuff. How depleted I am at receiver. I can see a world where I'm the one that gets snubbed. And I mean, that would suck, obviously, but I think with some of the retooling I've been doing recently, I wouldn't like hate it that much. I mean, obviously I would be sad, but like I would have the number 8 pick, or 7 or 8 pick in the draft. And I think my team's still going to be a lot younger now, and I have a lot more roster flexibility to really go all in on next year, and not be so old, which is kind of what I was a little worried about with Cup, Dalvin, and Derek, just not really having as much flexibility with draft capital, young assets, things like that. So it wouldn't be like the end of the world, but I definitely still am hoping to make a push and still make the playoffs. That being said, one thing I have going for me is I play 3 of the bottom 3 teams in my last 4 weeks. Play Chris, Austin, and Mitri.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Other than Caleb, I think you're the closest. Like, I would call you a lock as well because of that. Like,
I don't think I'm a lock.
I can't see a way you go worse than 3-1, and like that's assuming that you lose to Caleb, because I don't see you losing to Austin, Chris, or Mitri. Like, I'm looking at the projections now, and I don't know how, but in week 14, Mitri's projected 46.6. Like, there's no way. I just don't, and yeah, like I just don't see a way that you're not going to go 3-1 here, Matt. I think you have honestly the Cooper Cup injury news is brutal, and like 4 weeks is really tough, and you don't know if it could extend anytime beyond that. But his absence is going to hurt maybe your points force, but I don't think it's going to inhibit your chances of going at least 3-1 here and securing a top playoff spot. And maybe he comes back for that first week of the playoffs. Maybe you get a bye and it doesn't even like maybe the next week won't even matter. Like, I don't know. I think the future is still very much out in front of you. So to hear you talk about like pick 8 being a silver lining is a little like crazy for me because I feel like you're a lock for the playoffs. So like
I don't think I'm a lock, man. I mean, it's possible that I am, but I assume the worst. I don't know, maybe I'm just like a half glass empty, but I am not.
as we all do. As we all do. I feel like a team, I'm just gonna throw out a team I think could be in trouble. I don't know what you guys think. I think Jordan could be in trouble.
Yeah, Jordan is in trouble.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
He is in trouble.
He's very
Right.
banged up. Just lost Zach Ertz for the season. Jerry Judy's hurt, and he's been having just. I mean, Marquise Brown's still hurt. Like a lot of his talent is getting banged up. Kyler. I mean, so a lot of stuff's up in the air with him. I feel like. I do wonder though if 7-3 is a strong enough spot here for him to just win one game out of these last 4 and clinch a spot. I mean, he has Mitri this week, which is beneficial, I guess, if he's, going through a down week. Could potentially be an upset alert. Who knows? But finishes out the season with Lucas, Jeremy, and then Carter. And I don't think any of those by any means are like definite wins. So, I think that there's a chance he slides to 8-6, but still seems like that could clinch him a spot. Although if points force do come into play, he might be on the bottom of the barrel there if there's another 8-6 team that edges him out.
Yeah, that's true. He's the one I think has quite a bit of flight or fall risk, to be honest. I'm also looking at gosh, Jeremy's been on a heater. He's been great, and he has the points for, which I think is going to be really nice for him. He's got Brandon this week, and he's got a billion buys. So, like, I mean, I'm not saying Jeremy can't win, but it's not looking good, with all the buys he has to deal with this week. No Tyreek Hill, no Leonard Fournette. Like, things are banged up. That's probably an L. That gets Jeremy to 7-4. And I'm looking at the remainder of his schedule, and he has you, and you're kind of on the rise. Jonathan Taylor looked all right, or didn't look all right. He looked good this week. And then obviously Justin Fields keeps playing the way he's playing. You can definitely beat Jeremy. Jordan, Jordan's obviously on a decline at the moment, but Hollywood might be back. He might be a little healthier by that point. It's a losable game. And then James. So, like, he's got nothing but playoff contenders in the remainder of his schedule. So, as good as Jeremy's team is, I don't think he's feeling safe right now either with the remainder of his schedule. There's potentially 1-3 in there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, there's tough schedules kind of down the list. James has a bit of a tough go. He's got Caleb, has a buffer week with Mitri, but then he gets Lucas and Jeremy to end the season. So like he's got a bit of a tough schedule there too. It's 7-3. Where we look at Marcus, he's taking on Chris this week, so might have a good chance there. But then he's got Jake, Brandon, and myself. So again, another slate that looks a little bit like it could. I feel like there could be a lot of these potentials for like 9-5, 8-6 records, maybe. So I'm interested to see how it all is going to shake out. And maybe just because I'm lumped in with this group, but there's 3 5-5 teams. I guess it could be possible. It would really have to be a strong second half of the season for any of us to slip in there. But I guess if I were to ask you guys one team you think might be the most poised to do it, who would you think? And you don't have to say me just because I'm sitting here, although I will be pleading my case.
No, it is definitely you.
It's definitely you. It's definitely you.
Yeah.
And I think if it's not you, it's Lucas. But Lucas's team has been surprising to me this year. I think we all kind of predicted him to be definitely a top 4, at least top 6, like playoff lock. It was kind of the point of him going out and getting all these other picks from these bad teams because he didn't think his pick itself was going to be very, very solid. But I just think his team has underperformed quite a bit. I haven't checked his schedule yet, but I know it can't be. He can't play Mitri, Austin, Chris, and
he plays Ty,
Carter, which was what it would take.
He plays Ty, James, and Austin.
Yeah, like me and him got a big one this week because like we're both 5-5. I think one of us gets knocked out this week. Like whoever loses, I feel like is knocked out unless they go sweep the backside and go 8-6. Like this puts you at a serious disadvantage if you lose on even having a shot at the last playoff spot. So like it's a big week. And I'm certainly nervous about it, but yeah, we'll see. I think I have the best chance too. I think my team is probably got the most explosive opportunities between Fields, Taylor, and Chubb and Kelsey. I feel like we have like some guys that could go for some big weeks. And I agree with you, Lucas's just weird inconsistencies with this team. But that being said, there's some chance for upside now with Khalil Herbert on the IR. Montgomery will have a lot more carries, and Ayuk's been coming on a lot lately. Just what about Jake's team? Any thoughts on him at 5-5? Why are you all laughing?
I'll be honest. I'm going to let Matt speak last on this because I know Matt's got probably a lot of things to say about Jake as he should. But I have never met, or I shouldn't say that, but I have never seen someone so self-destructive as Jake. I think we all kind of, this is going way back, but I think we all kind of thought he had one of the better drafts coming out of Draft Night. I thought we all said he probably had like a top 4 draft. I know his draft grade was pretty high. And I think he shares this quality with his brother quite a bit where he cannot, no matter what, commit to a rebuild. He can't do it. He just, no matter what's in him, he always wants to go for the win. And that's, as honorable as that is for dynasty football, that'll just shoot you in the foot. And I think in this case, it's kind of shot him in the foot. As we see, he pushed all of his chips in and pulled out some 4s, you know.
Hey,
that's all I gotta say.
What Jake doesn't understand is the value of a first-round pick. Like everyone wants to talk about Ken Walker. Everyone wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes and the deal we made. Honestly, I mean, those were the 2 biggest assets in it, but I did not undervalue the importance of making that a first-round pick because those are currency that do not change in value at all. You know, like they can't get injured, you know, like they don't. And once you get closer to draft season and the draft's happening in a week or whatever, these guys that don't have picks are going to get more desperate to be involved and feel included, and they're going to freaking want that pick. And if they don't, okay, you go get yourself a 22-year-old or 21-year-old stud that you have 10 years with and you watch them develop and stuff. So if I don't trade the pick, awesome. If I do, awesome. But like their currency.
Matt,
we lost you, Matt.
Okay.
I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either. I'll just
sounds like he's going off though.
I'll just give my 2 cents on Matt. We lost you there. If you can hear us.
Oh, dang it! Oh, I just freaking roasted the living daylights, Jake, and I'll do it again.
Do it again for us.
No, we heard most of your spiel on him. It's okay. I just want to give my 2 cents on and his 5-5 record. I almost hope it's him that slides into the playoffs just because, like, if it's not, he really has nothing to hang his hat on for this season or for.
That sounds like fun.
I mean, be that as it may, I just feel like from a pure competitor standpoint, like just objectively viewing the teams, it's like, man, if this guy doesn't make it in, it's going to be really rough on him. But I won't say that.
My screenshot today in the chat, those were his messages to me. The level of delusion. I don't know if you saw that in the chat. I mean,
I missed that.
I said, Jake, I texted him and said, Jake, in 3 years, your team will be out of the NFL. And he said, in the next 3 years, they will still be in their prime.
Oh, so you guys actually did take my advice and just text each other privately instead of putting it all in the chat. If you
No,
got
that was before all of this.
oh. Oh.
Because he like was talking crap about Cooper Kupp being injured and like I called it and stuff. And I said, Jake, you know, because you kiss of death my best player, you know, like I mean, I don't know how I worded it, but I was basically like, I will beat you in the ground in fantasy for the next 5 years. I can assure you of that. And then he's like, no, you won't. He's like, I'll bet you $100 you don't do that. I got a dynasty on my hands. And I'm like, I can't deal with this guy. I can't.
I don't know what all that.
In Jake's defense, if someone asks you about your team, you got to stick up for your boys no matter what. Whether you're 8-2 and 2-8, you got to stick up for the boys, man.
Got to.
Well, he has to try to defend his terrible decision making.
True. That's also true.
That it's not him standing up for his boys, it's him standing up for his own managing ability, which he doesn't have.
All right.
He wants to admit he fumbled the bag.
We've hung Jake out to dry enough today. I think let's just go through looking at the teams here. Name our 6 that are in. No particular order, just where let's predict the last 4 weeks who we think it's in. And I'll start. So I'm worried that mine might be kind of basic, but I got Caleb, James, Jeremy, Marcus, Brandon, and Matt. Like, I feel like Jordan's the odd man out, and I think that those 6 seem established. So I don't know how the schedules will play out, if that's possible. They might beat up on each other a little bit, but that's how I foresee it going as of now. Any you guys?
I agree a lot. I think this week, which is rough, I told you I'm a stack man. And I already went through the Chiefs bye week, which I miraculously won off of an excellent performance from Heineke. He's a great backup. But I think I'm going to take the L this week and then win out against a few broken teams and a broken Matt team. Sorry, Matt. It's got to happen.
That's okay.
But other than that, I think you had it hit on with James, Jeremy, Marcus, Brandon, and Matt. I think Matt will sneak his way in there into that last spot, and I would predict Jeremy to be second, based just off of his points. I think his team having Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown that's a dirty combo. They can combine for 60 on any given week. That's a dirty combo.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I hate going last, because I mean, I really honestly would be saying I agree. But I mean, if it's not Jordan missing out, I think you guys are going to think I'm just a pessimist, but I think it'd be me, because I mean, I'm not going to give all the details, but I've got some other talks in the work to retool some things. And while those I think will be way better moves for me long term, they might hurt me in the short term. So I don't know.
Give us a sneak peek, Matt. What's the sneak peek? Just a little bit, just a little taste.
I can't disclose too much. Let's just say I might be swapping a running back for a receiver.
Understood.
Okay, then let's predict the dreaded 7 spot, because I feel like I'm going to end there again this season. I feel like again.
That would suck. That would really suck, man. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the Jimmys find a spot in, but if it's not Jordan at 7, it'll be the Jimmys.
I think it'll be Jordan, honestly. I think I want to say you, just because I think your team will excel a lot more than his, but 7-3 already, having 7, unless he loses out, it doesn't look good.
I agree.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's the end of this show, guys. We got about 5 seconds left, but appreciate having you on, Caleb. It was a fun week.
Thanks for having me, boys.